All right. Thanks everyone for joining this session. The agenda for today's discussion we'll be starting with a quick introduction about me and my skills and expertise and experience. Then, if possible, we'll try to get some introduction from you all, like what is your current skill set and area of expertise, and what are you expecting from the sessions. Then I will be driving you through what is Azure platform and what are the different learning methods we have, learning paths, like what are the certifications we have and what are the learning paths. Then we'll tell you what are we going to learn in next couple of days, right? And how it is going to help you in terms of your career and in terms of your interviews and job, everything. So will be covered. Then at the end, I'll be taking your questions if you have anything. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, and feel free to speak in the comfortable language. Okay, so that flexibility we have. All right. So to get started, I am Kamlakar, having 6.5 years of experience with the Azure platform. I have been into this industry for around 8 years, and my complete experience into infrastructure components. Okay. So coming to the freelancer training, I'm into this field for almost 5 years. I've trained people who are coming from the technical and non-technical background. So these sessions are going to be around 30 to 45 days. Every day we'll have 1 hour session, Monday to Friday. So these sessions are like, it's going to be like all over the paint and real-time scenarios. There is no PPT that we'll be presenting. So we have OneNote, that centralized OneNote. So that centralized OneNote contains the all the labs that we are going to do and all the information that will be shared with everyone. And every session will be recorded and given to the students. Okay, and we'll be taking care of the labs part, so you don't need to worry about the Azure portal access or console access. So we will be providing you all the access part, so you don't need to worry about putting your credit card and signing up for the Azure. So everything will be taken care by us. Okay, so so this is going to be 30 to 45 day session, and everything will be in real time. And it's not that once we are done with the sessions, we are moving away, right? It's going to be for a lifetime. If in case if you face any issues, or if you have if you need any advice, so we are there to support you. Okay, so this is the expectation you can have. So at the end of the sessions, a person who already have 3 years of experience in Azure, what level of skill set he will have it, and what level of experience and expertise he'll have it, you will be able to achieve from this entire course. Okay, provided that you follow the labs and instructions, and right. So then you will be able to achieve to that level. So you can clear your interviews just in case if you're getting a new project within your company, so you'll be able to understand the requirement and you design a solution for them. So that is the expectation you can have out of this course. Okay, in simple words. All right, so this is about me, and the way I teach is only on paint. And there is no PPTs. I'll be sharing the documents if needed, right? So in simple, once you get into any project, you should not feel uncomfortable with any requirement that you're getting. So if you don't know the technology, you should be able to identify where do you find information and how do you ask the right questions. So those things will be discussed over the sessions. Okay. So I just wanted to know, if possible, if you can let me know your name and experience if you have anything, and what are you looking for. Okay. So I'll start with Bharat. Bharat, can you unmute yourself and just give a quick introduction? Okay.
Yeah, myself Bharat. I completed my BTech in 2015. Later, I have done job in mechanical field. Right now, I'm trying to get into the IT by learning some course. I attended this demo to know what is Azure and
Okay. How about Gopal? Gopal, you're on mute if you're speaking.
Yeah. Hi everyone, good morning. Myself Uday Gopal. I'm working for past 5 years in Wipro Technologies. My project is Google, and now currently I'm working in networking side. telecom networks. Recently, I'm interested to update the new technologies. That's why I choose this.
Okay.
Completely new to this technology.
All right. Fine.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Gopal. Yeah.
okay.
How about you, Dinesh? Dinesh, you're unmute if you're speaking. All right. So let's go with I think the next person is Carrie. Okay. Munna, Madan Kumar.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
Dinesh.
yeah, Dinesh.
Sorry, I'm not able to unmute so well. But
That's okay.
I'm Dinesh. I was working in Accenture past 7 years. I was working on the AWS, but I'm looking for to land the Azure too. So that's why we are getting the current Azure projects on like
Oh.
Azure B2C and Azure AD, some
Mm-hmm.
like this things and that. So I'm planning to go with this course.
Okay. That's great. Uh, Thanks, Dinesh. Um, so Madan Kumar, Narayana.
Hi, this is Narayana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 5 years of experience in desktop support. Currently, I'm working with Tech Mahindra. Actually, I know the entire concept of the Azure, but I'm looking for forward to increase my career build-up. So I
Mm-hmm.
choose Azure administration.
Okay.
And most of things, I just want to learn a scripting part on Azure administration.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. I think everybody has covered. One more person, but I think is not joined audio. Oh, fine. Let's get started. I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know once you're able to see. I hope you can see my screen. So first of all, I just wanted to let everyone know, what is there in Azure, right? So most of the people have a lot of confusions. Azure has development, Azure has administration, and which one to learn, which path to go, right? Everybody has confusions, and what will be your roles and responsibilities when you are in Azure, team, right? So we'll be talking about them, and we'll let you know what you are going to learn and which area you are going to fit in. Okay. So talk about Azure. So we have a basic fundamental series called AZ-900. We call it as Azure Fundamentals. Okay. So Azure Fundamentals will let you know, let's say that what is a cloud? What is infrastructure as service? What is platform as service? What is software as service, right? So how do you differentiate them and, what are the, so what is subscription and resource group and the basic understanding about the cloud platform so is going to be covered under AZ-900. Okay. So this course will be used for the AZ-900 subject, syllabus will be used for the people who are interacting with the customers, like project managers, technical account managers, sales team, because they have to negotiate on things and they have to handle escalations. So for them 900 is the best thing. Okay. And anybody who wanted to get started, 900 is the best thing. Okay. Because they have to understand the fundamentals. So let's say you have some experience and expertise on understanding the cloud, then you can go for a two different paths. One is AZ 204, the other one is AZ 104. So 204 is for Azure developer, okay, and 104 is for Azure administrator, okay. So so people who are from development background, let's say you have some experience in a C sharp, you have experience in a Java or Python, some programming language experience if you have, then your path can go to the 204. Okay. Let's say you don't have expertise on development and you don't have experience in IT itself, and you are very new to the IT, you are very new to the technical no technical teams, right? So for you the best learning path would be AZ 104. So AZ-104, you will have very minimal coding experience needed, coding skills are needed, and that you will be covering. That will be covering over this sessions. How to write a PowerShell script and how to write ARN templates and how to write a Terraform, files. We'll be talking about them in the administrator. So, but when it comes to the administrator, apart from scripting, right, so day in day out you're seeing, what is server, somewhere you will learn network, you learn wi-fi. So these are like day to day, day in day out, we hear those terminologies. For you it is not difficult to understand if you put little efforts. Only thing is the concepts will be easily understand, the terminology is what you need to familiar and you need to remember those. Okay, so that takes time and you have to put your efforts and do practice, do the labs. Everything will be on scenarios. It is not like, okay, there is a virtual machine topic, we'll talk about the definition of virtual machine. No, so there will be a scenario, the scenario will be explained to you. Okay, and to achieve that scenario, to implement the scenario, okay, what we have to do. Okay, step one, step two, step three, we have to learn, right? So those steps will be learned, and at the end you will be able to implement the scenario. So that's why people who are from non-technical, or who are from IT background, or technical background, non-development, so they can go for the Azure administrator. So what is next after the Azure administrator? Okay, then the next thing is going to be architect. Okay, Azure architect. Okay, I'll tell you what is the each and every rule. Okay, so Azure architect has two certification, as a 302 and 304, I believe. So these basic 303, I believe this is 303 or 304, two. I need to check on that. So these exams will tell you how you can architect a solution in Azure. Let's say one of your customer has come to you and say, "Hey, I want to deploy application in Azure." Okay, so you as an architect, you are going to derive, okay, what is the best solution for you? So whether the platform and service component is the best solution, or infrastructure as a component is the best solution for you, or what kind of security methods you have to use it, what kind of high availability solutions you have to use, what are the things you have, and how you can save the cost. You are going to explain everything to your customers, and design a solution for them. Okay, and implement it, right? So that is where the architect role come into the picture. Okay, let's say you're going with a developer service like PaaS, some PaaS components, right? So as a Azure administrator, you are going to do 50% of your Azure developer you know exam work as well. Because let's say anything you want to create in Azure administrator can do. Let's say I'm creating a database, so Azure administrator can create a database, but how to query the database from the application is what developer can do it. Okay, so this, when it comes to the pass, you should have the pass experience, and when it comes to the administrator, you should have administrator experience. If you combine both of them, then you can become architect here. Okay, so, but here with the Azure administration course, we are going to learn 50% of your development component, and 100% of administrator and AZ-900. So this is what you're going to be, what going to be a learning path throughout this course, and 70% of the architect syllabus also we are going to cover. Okay, so just to again rephrase this, AZ-900 is for the basic fundamentals, where you wanted to understand what is cloud, and what are the different components you have. So AZ-900 will be covered. Okay, AZ-204 is for the developers. Developers knows how to query the data from the applications, how to use the REST APIs to query some information. So they knows how to use the code to utilize Azure services. Okay, and 50% of the developer role you can play, because services deployment, services management in Azure, you can do it. Okay, in AZ-204. AZ-104 is something that everything your architect has designed a solution, and implementation is done. You need to operate. Let's say one of your application teams says, "Hey, I'm not able to RDP to the server. Can you fix it?" So you as a Azure administrator is going to log into the Azure portal and check, hey, whether the server is running or not, whether the required network ports are enabled or not, right? So you are going to troubleshoot. If somebody say, hey, I wanted to migrate server from on-premises to Azure, so you are going to pick up a scenario from where what are the migration scenarios you have, and you're going to implement it. Maybe if migration is failed, replication is failed, you are going to pitch in and troubleshoot them. So that is the role of Azure administrator. Okay, so whatever you do in your on-premises, in your current let's say somebody say desktop support or server support, whatever you do in server support, in the server support you have a server administrator, you have a network administrator, you have a backup administrator, you have different teams available. Okay, when it comes to the cloud, you are the only one guy who is going to manage everything. Okay, and Azure made in such a way that these all are can be managed by one person as well. One guy can have multiple skill set. So that easy is that Azure. Okay, so you are going to manage the servers, you are going to manage the network, you are going to manage the backup, you are going to manage the migrations, you are going to manage the patching. Not one, right? There are a lot. Okay, this is about the complete Azure infrastructure components, components course. So this is what we are going to cover. We are going to cover, once we are done with the course, you can clear AZ-900, AZ-104, and AZ-302 and 304 certifications. Okay, and you'll be able to clear your interviews, and if there is a project comes into your teams, you will be able to handle them. So there is something called DevOps as well, guys. Okay, so for what we discussed about, okay, you understand the concepts and you design a solution and implement it, then you are going to operate them, right? So how you deploy your resources, right? Let's say you have thousands of servers to be deployed with the same configurations and different varieties of configuration. So to make that deployment easy, so Microsoft introduced something called Azure DevOps. Okay, so in Azure DevOps, right, we are going to learn what is ARM templates, how to create a template to deploy multiple resources with the same configuration. Okay, I will also tell you how you can use Terraform templates to deploy resources in Azure. Okay, it is like a combination of fundamentals, administration, and architecture and DevOps. Okay, if you are able to follow the entire sessions, if you are able to understand, if you are able to implement it, definitely nobody can reject you. It's not about that, somebody, I'm giving you a scenario, you are going to implement. You should be in a position to explain to somebody. If they ask you what is this, right? If somebody asks you, hey, what is this backup, what does this VM, how do you migrate? You know how to migrate. You go to Azure portal, create a service, and do step by step one, step two, step three. But if you're not able to explain to somebody, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so we are going to discuss all these points in the throughout these sessions, and we'll be covering each and every aspect, so that end of the day you are confident. So I'm sure after 60 to 70% of the course completion, you can start putting your resume. Okay, so that is the expectation you can have out of this course. All right, any questions so far? I just wanted to let you know what is our next plan, right? What are we going to learn in next couple of days? So before I go, show the before I go in, I'm going to show you the syllabus. Let me know if you have anybody have any questions. Anyone have any questions? Feel free to ask. Dinesh, Bharat, Gopal.
You will cover Azure AD, Azure AD B2C.
Yes, yes. You see here, right? These are the topics we are going to cover. Okay.
Okay.
So these are topics at a high level, but we'll be covering more than this. You have Azure Ready. Even as Azure Ready, it
Mm.
contains the hybrid deployments from on-prem to Azure Ready synchronization using AAD Connect. We'll be implementing Azure B2C. Okay, we'll be implementing Azure B2B. We'll be implementing Azure AD domain services. Okay, maybe we may not go in depth because we don't have such applications where we can test the SAML and everything, but at least I'll show you some kind of simulations. Okay, because we don't have real applications, right? So what we do, everything is a POC and with the real time scenarios. Getting my point?
And what about this, PowerShell scripting part? Will you able
So
to find?
yes, I'm going to teach you how you can use PowerShell to write scripts. Okay, so most of them like scare about PowerShell scripting, right? Actually, it is easy. Okay, so at the end, at least I would say you will be able to deploy, you will be able to write a script to fetch Azure VMs in all the subscriptions. Otherwise, I would say you will be able to get list of disk in Azure. You'll be able to write your own script. Okay, so that level of expertise you get it for sure. So I'm going to teach you how to get started with the PowerShell and what is variable, what is for loops. So those things will be covered. Clear? Any further questions from anyone? All right. Okay, great. So just to explain, what are we going to learn? See, we have shown you the list of topics, right? Let me put them in a paper. Okay. So let's say as I mentioned, see, if you wanted to come to the cloud, so you need to know what is the first thing that you need to learn, right? First thing what you need to learn is subscription. Okay, you need to learn what is subscription. We will learn what are the different types of subscriptions we have. What is subscription? What are the different types of subscriptions? Okay, and how do you reach out to Microsoft if there is an issue comes? Because since this is running in Microsoft data center, you don't have more control. If there is an issue comes, who has to fix it? And how do you reach out to them? We'll talk about what are the different support plans they have. And there are scenarios there, where Microsoft data center might be down. We call it as outage. So how do you handle such outage scenarios? How do you get notified? We'll be talking about them. Now you have subscription. If I wanted to add you to my subscription, because I heard you hired you for Azure administrator role, right? You are a Azure administrator in my team. How do I give you access? What are the different types of permissions we have? We'll be talking about it. Okay. Now let's say you understood subscription, you understood support plans, you understood how Microsoft work, and you understood how to provide permissions. The next thing is what? Deployment of resources. Why do you need to deploy a resource in the first place, right? Let's say one of your customers say, hey, I want to deploy application. Let's say I want to deploy a website in Azure. So what are the different methods? We have infrastructure components, we have platform and service components, right? Let's say I created one VM in Azure and I deployed my website. Okay. And this website is accessible over the internet. Okay. Now, what if this VM is running in Microsoft data center? If Microsoft data center is down, this VM is down. So how do I provide high availability solutions for my website? So maybe I'll deploy another web server. Okay. So I'll ensure that these two web servers have the same application running and same code is running. So in Azure, we have something called availability set. So we have to keep the VMs in availability set or availability zone to ensure that both VMs are highly available. In case if one VM is not available, Microsoft ensure that another VM is highly available. We will talk about this in detail in upcoming sessions. Okay. So it's not about just creating a VM, right? It's about what kind of operating system you need to choose for your application, right? And what should be the naming standard, which location you have to deploy, right? Those kind of best practices we have to discuss, right? Everybody can create. If you go to the Google, YouTube, you see a lot of bunch of videos on how to create a VM. But what is the real business use cases? One of the use case, I want to deploy a website. If your users are from India and if you're deploying a VM in US, there is no point of deploying there, right? So we'll be talking about those best practices. Now VMs are created, availability set is configured. Now, how does user request knows that, okay, I have to go to web 1 or web 2, right? We have something called load balancer in place. Okay, we are going to talk about load balancer, external load balancer. So this guy distributed traffic to available servers. Okay. So this is a when a user trying to access any application, the request goes to the load balancer. Load balancer distribute the traffic to available server. Everything is going well. Somebody, accidentally somebody deleted this VM. Okay, so you lost the VM. How do you provide business continuity solution? If somebody deleted, how do you restore? We need to think about the solution, right? So we have something called Azure backup solution. Okay, we are going to back up these VMs every day. In case if somebody deleted, we can restore from the backup. Okay, which means we can recreate from the backup. So let's say these VMs are running in one of the data center. Okay, these are running in one of the data center. So at Microsoft end, there is some disaster recovery happen. Let's say this is in a East US location. If this entire East US location is down, right? So how do you ensure that VMs are up and running? So we have something called site recovery. Okay. With the help of site recovery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fail over these servers to another region. So the same setup will be available in another region within like fraction of minutes. Okay. That can be achieved with the help of site recovery. Okay. Disaster recovery solutions in Azure. Now let's say I have on-premises infrastructure. This is my on-prem, my own data center, not on the cloud. Okay. So this has a couple of servers where I wanted to migrate them to Azure. So what is the migration strategy we follow? And how do we migrate with the help of site recovery? Right? So we'll also talk about them. Now, since they are running in Azure, we need to ensure that security in place, right? Not every request we allow, only the authorized request has to be allowed. How do we control inbound, outbound traffic? We have something called network security groups. We'll talk about them. Okay. We'll control inbound, outbound traffic. Okay. And let's say I have my remote user who log in remotely to the server. In public cloud, especially in Azure, so you cannot connect to the VM if you don't have a public IP for your VM. And adding public IP to the VM is not a security best practice. Okay, it's recommended to disable a public IP for your virtual machine. So we need to configure the VPN so that your remote user from home he can connect to the VM securely using private IP address. So we'll talk about how you can set up the VPN. We'll implement the VPN technology. So likewise, right, if I keep on adding, you will see all these services covered. You cover load balancer, site recovery, backup, networking, everything. For you, if you look at this, these are just the topics. But when it comes to this page, they are real use cases. So those real use cases we are going to learn and implement it. Okay. So that's why I'm confident that if you follow the instructions, if you follow the regular sessions, and if you practice it very well, you get a person, you get experience as a person who already have 3 years of experience in Azure. As an Azure administrator, the time you log into your system, what do? You go to your ticketing tool. You have a ticketing queue, you have a queue assigned to your team, right? You get a case saying, hey, I am not able to ODP to the VM. You're going to pick up that case and you're going to check what is the server name in this ticket and you're going to start troubleshooting it. If you wanted to start troubleshooting, you should know the fundamentals. What is a VM? How virtual machine is getting created in Azure? What is a data center architecture, right? How do you control the inbound onboard traffic? So all these things you have to learn. And if you learn this, and it's easy to handle those issues, right? So I'm going to treat you as my new joiner in the team. So I'm going to train you in that way. All right. So that's all, guys. I wanted to cover for this session. I don't wanted to add more info here because most of the people may be new to the platform, new to the IT, so you'll be confused. Okay. So any questions, if you have, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to clarify. Okay. Uh, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me in case if you have any questions or clarification. Raju can share, add me to the call if you have any questions or clarifications, and he can share my number with you. So feel free to talk to me and clarify your questions. All right. Anything else, Raju? I see everybody is clear. No further questions, it seems.